Lovely people, beautiful life here again. Let's watch immigration situation going on. Let me put this on this stand and let's watch. Let's watch and listen. Wow. Let's watch
If
and
you hold a
listen.
green card in the United States right now, stop whatever you're doing and listen very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you could be the difference between keeping your permanent resident status and watching years, sometimes decades, of hard work unravel faster than you ever thought possible. A major shift in U.S. immigration law has already taken effect, quietly, without headlines loud enough to warn the people most affected. And here's the most dangerous part: the vast majority of green card holders have no idea this change even exists. By the time many people realize what's happening, it won't be a warning anymore. It will be a notice, a flag on their record, or a problem they can no longer undo. I don't say this lightly. This is not a rumor, not speculation, and not something that might happen someday. It is happening now, and it is changing how the government looks at every single permanent resident living in the United States. What makes this moment different from every immigration update you've heard before is that this change doesn't announce itself with letters or interviews. It doesn't wait politely for you to apply for citizenship. It doesn't show up years later during a routine process. It works quietly, continuously, and automatically in the background, evaluating behavior that used to be ignored, delayed, or overlooked. Things that once felt harmless, missing an update, staying abroad a little too long, filing something late, are no longer treated as small issues. They are now data points. And when enough of those data points stack up, the consequences can be immediate and severe. Before fear takes over, take a breath. This isn't about panic, it's about awareness. The reason this matters so much is because the system has fundamentally changed how it decides who is truly maintaining permanent residence and who might be drifting away from it. For decades, the immigration system largely operated on trust. Once you received your green card, compliance was expected, but rarely verified unless you triggered a specific event, like applying for citizenship or returning from long travel abroad. That era is over. Today, compliance is no longer something assumed, it's something tracked. And this is where people get caught off guard. Many green card holders believe that as long as they haven't committed a serious crime, they're safe. Others assume that if immigration hasn't contacted them, everything must be fine. Some think that because they're planning to apply for citizenship soon, none of this applies to them anymore. Every one of those assumptions is dangerous under the new reality. The system no longer waits for you to come to it. It watches continuously, comparing records, timelines, and patterns in ways that didn't exist before. If you're watching this now, that puts you in a powerful position. Information is protection. The people who suffer the most from immigration changes are almost never the worst offenders. They're the ones who simply didn't know the rules had changed until the rules were enforced against them. In the next few minutes, you're going to understand exactly what changed, why the government implemented it, and how ordinary, well-intentioned green card holders are getting flagged without ever realizing they did anything wrong. And once you see how this system works, you'll understand why taking action early isn't optional anymore. It's essential. Hi, I'm Sophia, and for years I've been closely tracking immigration policy changes that directly affect green card holders and immigrant families across the United States. I focus on cutting through confusion, fear, and misinformation so people can understand what's actually happening and protect their future before problems appear. And what I'm about to explain is one of the most important shifts I've seen because it doesn't rely on dramatic announcements or sudden enforcement raids. It relies on quiet systems, digital records, and ongoing verification that most people don't even realize exists yet. If you're a permanent
Hi,
resident,
Water
this
Boy.
applies to
Welcome.
you, whether you've had your green card for 2 years or 20 years, whether you travel often or rarely leave your city, and whether you're planning to apply for citizenship soon or not at all. To understand why this change is so serious, you need to understand how the system used to work. For decades, the U.S. immigration system treated permanent residents as a largely passive status. Once you received your green card, you were expected to follow certain rules: maintain residence in the United States, file taxes as required, update your address, and avoid serious legal trouble. But enforcement of those rules was mostly delayed. Problems usually surfaced only at specific moments, like when you applied for citizenship, renewed your green card, or returned from a long trip abroad. Until then, many violations went unnoticed, untracked, or simply unaddressed. That created a false sense of security. People assumed that if no one was contacting them, everything must be fine. That assumption no longer holds. The government has now shifted from a delayed, trust-based model to an active, verification-based system. Instead of waiting years to review your history all at once, immigration authorities can now monitor compliance as it happens. This means your status is no longer evaluated only at major milestones. It's evaluated continuously, based on updated records, timelines, and patterns of behavior. The goal, according to officials, is to ensure that green cards are held by people who genuinely intend to make the United States their permanent home. But the practical result is that everyday actions now matter far more than they used to. Under the old system, someone could forget to update their address, file taxes late, or spend extended periods outside the country and face no immediate consequences. Those issues might sit quietly in the background for years. Under the new system, those same behaviors can generate automatic alerts in centralized databases. These alerts don't mean punishment happens instantly, but they do mean your record begins to tell a story, and not always a flattering one. When multiple issues appear together, they can raise questions about whether you're truly maintaining permanent residence as required by law. This is where many green card holders get confused. They assume this change is about targeting people who intentionally break the law. In reality, the system doesn't evaluate intent first. It
At
evaluates
Annie
data. It looks at whether
V74110.
information is
Hello,
current,
Janet.
whether timelines
Hi.
align, whether obligations are being met
Welcome.
consistently. A person who believes they're doing mostly everything right can still end up with a record that looks questionable on paper. And once that record exists, it becomes part of every future interaction with immigration authorities. The most important thing to understand is this: having a valid green card in your wallet is no longer enough on its own. Physical possession of the card does not guarantee that your status is secure if the system believes your compliance is incomplete or outdated. Permanent residence is now something that must be actively maintained, documented, and confirmed over time. In the next part, I'm going to explain the mechanism that makes all of this possible. The new system that now sits at the center of every green card holder's immigration life, and why ignoring it is one of the biggest risks permanent residents face today. This is where the picture becomes very clear, and for many people, very uncomfortable. Under the new framework, the system doesn't just look at one mistake in isolation. It looks at patterns. It compares timelines. It checks consistency across different government records. Imagine two green card holders living in the same city. One of them files taxes every year on time, keeps their address updated, works steadily, and reports changes when they happen. Under the old system, that person looked fine. Under the new system, that person still looks fine. Nothing changes for them. But now imagine another green card holder. This person travels often, sometimes staying abroad 4 or 5 months at a time. They moved apartments last year but never updated their address because nothing bad happened before. They filed taxes late once or twice, not because they were trying to avoid anything, but because life got busy. Maybe they changed jobs and didn't think it mattered to immigration. Under the old system, those details might never come together. Under the new system, they do. Each one of those actions creates a digital trail. Travel records show time spent outside the country. Address databases don't match. Employment information changes without explanation. Tax records don't line up cleanly with residency timelines. None of these things automatically mean someone loses their green card. But together, they raise a question the system is now designed to ask much earlier than before. Is this person truly maintaining permanent residence in the United States? And once that question appears on your record, everything that follows becomes more complicated. What catches people off guard is that most of these behaviors don't feel serious. They don't feel like violations. They feel like normal life. But immigration law has always been strict about permanent residence. The difference now is visibility. The system no longer waits years to notice gaps. It notices them as they happen. That's why people who believe they're safe are often the ones most exposed. They don't realize their record is quietly shifting from clean to questionable without a single warning letter or phone call. This isn't about punishing honest people, it's about documentation. The government wants proof, not explanations after the fact. When something looks inconsistent, the burden shifts to you to show that you've complied. And the later that question arises, the harder it becomes to fix. That's why understanding this early matters so much. Once you know how the system interprets everyday actions, you can avoid creating problems that are completely unnecessary. If this
60% of women
Okay,
experience leaks with
people,
bladder
so we're
protection
watching
pads.
immigration
Try
law.
Always Discreet. Its rapid dry pour locks leaks in seconds to keep you drier.
For
With
those
less
who
bulk
have
than
green
poise.
card, it's important
Try
that you
Always Discreet.
watch,
It's designed to
listen,
protect.
and follow instructions because there is no consequences, right?
With the Chase mobile app, things move a little more smoothly.
There is no consequence to all of that. So we have to follow the rules. Welcome, welcome to Beautiful Life in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Welcome, welcome. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and check out the rest of my videos. You may find something you're interested in. Yep. So welcome and drop a comment, please. Please drop a comment. Okay. All right. Advertisement going on, so let's see. Skip in. It's a long advertisement, right? Yeah. Wow, that's a pretty dog. Ooh, it's all white. Wow. All right, let's get back to our immigration.
Already helping you see your situation more clearly, take a moment to support this video by tapping the like button. It helps this reach other green card holders who may be at risk without realizing it. And if you want to stay ahead of changes like this instead of finding out when it's too late, subscribing ensures you don't miss updates that could directly affect your status. Now, let's talk about the tool that makes all of this possible, because this is where compliance officially begins and where most green card holders will either protect themselves or get caught off guard. At the center of everything I've been explaining is a new online registration and verification system that every green card holder will be required to use.
Wow.
This portal is no longer optional, and it's not just a one-time form you fill out and forget about. Think of it as your official living immigration record. It's where the government now expects your information to be accurate, current, and continuously confirmed. In the past, your green card itself was treated as the primary proof of your status. Now that physical card is only one piece of a much larger picture. What matters just as much, sometimes more, is what the system shows about your life in the United States right now. When you first register, you'll create a profile that represents you in the immigration system. This profile includes where you live, how you support yourself, who your immediate family members are, and how to contact you. But registration is only the starting point. The real change is what happens after. From that moment on, the system expects your profile to reflect reality. If something changes in your life and your profile doesn't change with it, the system doesn't assume nothing happened. It assumes the record is incomplete. And incomplete records are exactly what trigger reviews under the new framework. This is where daily life starts to matter in ways it didn't before. Moving to a new apartment is no longer just a personal decision. It's an immigration-relevant event that must be documented.
Wow, you heard
Changing
that,
jobs,
people?
starting a business, or becoming unemployed isn't just about income anymore.
Wow.
It becomes part of how the government evaluates whether you're maintaining lawful permanent residence. Planning a long trip abroad isn't just a travel decision. It's a data point that affects how your connection to the United States is measured. The portal exists to capture these changes as they happen, not months or years later. What surprises many people is how comprehensive this system is designed to be. It doesn't rely on a single source of information. It cross-checks what you report with other federal and state databases. That means inconsistencies stand out quickly. An address that doesn't match tax records. Employment information that doesn't align with income filings. Travel patterns that raise questions about where you truly live. None of this automatically means trouble, but it does mean scrutiny comes sooner, not later. The system is built to notice gaps, not ignore them. Now let me walk you through what you actually need to prepare for registration, because this is where small mistakes can cause unnecessary delays or reviews. First, you'll need your alien registration number, often called your A number. This is the unique number assigned to you when you became a permanent resident, and it's printed on your green card. Without it, you cannot complete registration. If your card is lost, damaged, or expired, you need to deal with that immediately. Waiting until the last minute will only create stress and risk missing deadlines. Beyond that, the system requires your biographical information exactly as it appears in government records. That means your full legal name, your date of birth, your country of birth, and your country of citizenship must match perfectly. Even small differences, like missing middle names or spelling variations, can trigger a review. Accuracy matters more than speed here. Taking extra time to double-check everything is one of the simplest ways to protect yourself. Your current physical address in the United States is another critical requirement. This must be where you actually live, not a mailing address, not a relative's home, and not a temporary workaround. Providing an address that doesn't reflect your true residence is considered a serious issue. If your housing situation is unstable or temporary, it's important to resolve that before registering. The system is designed to verify where you live, not just where you receive mail. Employment information is also required, and the system accounts for different situations. Whether you're employed, self-employed, unemployed, retired, or managing a household, there are categories for each. The key is honesty and clarity. The government wants to understand how you support yourself financially, because that has always been part of immigration law, even if it wasn't closely monitored before. What's changed is that this information is now centralized and reviewed continuously. Once you complete your initial registration, many people assume they're done. That assumption is where serious problems begin. Under the new rules, registration is not a one-time obligation. It's the entry point into an ongoing verification process that follows you every year you hold a green card. At least once annually, you're required to log back into the system and confirm that all of your information is still accurate. If nothing has changed, you still need to confirm it. If something has changed, you must update it before submitting your verification. The system will send reminders as the deadline approaches, but those reminders are not a safety net. If you miss them, the responsibility doesn't shift to the government. It stays with you. Missing one annual verification doesn't immediately cancel your status, but it does place a flag on your record. That flag doesn't disappear quietly. It stays there, visible to immigration authorities, signaling potential non-compliance. If you miss 2 consecutive annual verifications, the system may classify your green card as potentially abandoned. At that point, you could receive a formal notice requiring you to explain yourself in person. This is not a casual meeting. It's a situation where you're asked to prove that you're still meeting the obligations of permanent residence. What used to be a simple oversight now becomes evidence that can be used against you. Beyond annual verification, the system requires you to report certain life changes within 30 days of when they occur. This is the part that affects nearly everyone, and it's also the part most people underestimate. Address changes must be reported within 30 days of moving. This rule existed before, but enforcement was weak. Now it's automated. Your address in the portal is compared with other government records, and mismatches don't go unnoticed. If you've moved multiple times without updating your address, those gaps can suddenly become very visible. Employment changes fall under the same 30-day rule. Starting a new job, changing employers, becoming unemployed, shifting to part-time work, or starting a business all need to be reported. From the government's perspective, this information matters because it relates to financial self-sufficiency, which has always been a requirement of permanent residents. The difference now is timing. Waiting months or years to explain employment changes is no longer acceptable under the new system. Any interaction with law enforcement must also be reported, even if it feels minor. Arrests, charges, and convictions must be disclosed, regardless of whether the case was dismissed later. Many green card holders assume that if something didn't lead to a conviction, it doesn't matter. In immigration law, that assumption has always been risky. Under the new system, it's even riskier. The portal exists to ensure immigration authorities are informed immediately, not years later when memories fade and documents are harder to find. travel outside the United States now requires special attention. Any trip that lasts more than 6 months or is expected to last that long should be reported in advance through the system. This creates an official record showing that your travel was planned and temporary. Green card holders have always faced scrutiny over long absences, but now there's a formal way to document your intent to return. Failing to use that feature leaves room for doubt, and doubt is exactly what the system is designed to flag. Changes in marital status must also be reported within 30 days. Marriage, divorce, or the death of a spouse affects how your household is evaluated and how your record is interpreted. These details don't exist in isolation. They connect to other parts of your file, including dependents, financial responsibility, and future applications. What's important to understand is that none of these requirements are new in spirit. What's new is enforcement. The system is no longer forgiving of silence. If something changes and the portal doesn't reflect it, the system assumes the record is incomplete. And incomplete records are no longer ignored. They're tracked, flagged, and reviewed. Now let's talk about timing, because this is where many green card holders will get caught off guard if they're not paying close attention. The new portal does not open and immediately punish everyone who isn't registered on day one. There's a rollout period, followed by a grace window and then a hard deadline. That structure sounds forgiving on paper, but in reality, it's a trap for procrastination. The system is expected to launch soon, and once it does, there will be a limited grace period during which registration is strongly encouraged but not yet legally mandatory. After that window closes, registration becomes a requirement under immigration law, not a suggestion. At that point, failure to register is treated as non-compliance, and the consequences begin. When you add up the timeline, most green card holders will have only a few months from launch to complete registration. That might sound like plenty of time, but history tells a very different story. There are millions of permanent residents in the United States. Even if a fraction of them wait until the final weeks to act, government systems will be overwhelmed. Immigration websites are not known for handling heavy traffic smoothly. Pages freeze, sessions time out, uploads fail, and support lines become unreachable. Waiting until the last minute turns a simple administrative task into a high-stress gamble with your legal status. This is why early action matters so much. Registering early isn't just about beating a deadline. It's about protecting yourself from technical failures, processing delays, and unexpected issues with your information. If something doesn't match, if a document is rejected, or if your photo doesn't meet requirements, you want time to fix it. Waiting until the final days leaves no margin for error. And under the new system, "I tried but the website wasn't working" is not an excuse that automatically protects you. Once the mandatory deadline passes, the system begins enforcement in stages. The first step is a non-compliance flag attached to your record. You may receive a formal notice giving you a final opportunity to register within a short window. This is your last warning. If that window passes without action, your green card status can be classified as potentially abandoned. That classification doesn't mean immediate removal, but it does mean you are now on the government's radar in a very serious way. At that point, you may be required to appear for an in-person interview. This is not a routine appointment. It's a formal process where an immigration officer reviews your record and asks you to explain why you failed to meet basic obligations of permanent residence. The burden is on you to prove that you still deserve to keep your status. The tone of that interaction is very different from anything most green card holders have experienced before. The risks increase dramatically.
Try Always Discreet underwear. For bladder protection that
Okay.
fits up to 95% of body shapes.
Advertisement going on. Okay, so Annie, you
It might
have to
sound
be
crazy,
careful.
but since I switched into it QuickBooks,
Hello,
it feels like I
Janet.
get everywhere at once.
Hi, Annie.
Everything's synced in
When
one place,
traveling
giving me
now,
time
yeah.
to land more clients
Yes.
and multiply my wins.
The green card thing is very, very serious.
Jefferson Rally's $5 MVP meal deal makes you a big deal. Choose the new
Yeah.
mushroom Swiss spicy
Welcome
chicken
back,
or cheese
honey.
double with fries, drink, and dessert. Just $5. Be a big deal
Yeah.
for just $5. Only at
I guess this is serious business.
Dramatically if you travel while your status is flagged. If you leave the United States and attempt to return while marked as non-compliant, you could be stopped at the port of entry. Secondary inspection becomes likely. Your green card may be taken temporarily or permanently while officers review your case. In the worst case scenario, you could be placed into removal proceedings and required to argue your case before an immigration judge. This is not hypothetical. This is exactly how immigration enforcement works once a status is questioned. Non-compliance also affects your future plans in ways many people don't anticipate. If you're hoping to apply for U.S. citizenship, failing to meet registration and verification requirements can delay that process by years. You may become ineligible to file until you've reestablished a clean compliance history over multiple consecutive years. For someone who believed they were close to becoming a citizen, that delay can be devastating. Financial penalties also come into play. Civil fines can be imposed for failure to register. And in cases where authorities believe someone deliberately avoided compliance to hide criminal activity, evade taxes, or maintain a green card while actually living abroad, criminal charges are possible. These are not routine cases, but the penalties are real and written into the framework. The takeaway here is simple but critical. Deadlines under this system are not flexible suggestions. They are legal requirements. Acting early isn't just smart, it's protective. Now here's the part most people don't expect, because not everything about this new system works against you. For green card holders who take these requirements seriously, stay organized, and keep their records clean, the new framework can actually become an advantage. By consistently updating your information and completing verifications on time, you create a documented history that clearly shows your commitment to living permanently in the United States. Instead of trying to explain your past years later from memory, the system already has a record that speaks for you. When immigration officers review a compliant profile, what they see is stability, consistency, and responsibility. Those qualities matter far more than people realize. This becomes especially powerful when you eventually apply for U.S. citizenship. One of the biggest stress points during naturalization is proving that you maintained continuous residence, followed the rules, and met your obligations as a permanent resident. Under the old system, applicants often scrambled to collect old documents, reconstruct timelines, and answer detailed questions about years they barely remembered. Under the new system, that history is already organized. A clean compliance record can streamline reviews, reduce questioning, and lower the risk of unexpected delays. Instead of working against you, the system becomes evidence in your favor. There are also practical benefits that make everyday life easier. The portal gives you direct access to important immigration records that many green card holders currently struggle to obtain. You can review your information, download official documents, and receive notifications about changes that affect your status. This level of transparency didn't exist before for most permanent residents. It reduces guesswork and helps you stay informed without relying on rumors or outdated advice. Another benefit many people overlook is renewal protection. Green cards expire, and far too many people realize too late that their card is nearing expiration. Under the new system, automated reminders are sent well in advance, giving you time to prepare and file renewal applications without panic. This alone can prevent serious problems with employment, travel, and identification that occur when a card expires unexpectedly. For green card holders who travel often, the travel notification feature can also work in your favor. By documenting long trips in advance, you create proof that your absences were planned and temporary. When questions arise at the border, officers can see that you disclosed your travel intentions ahead of time. That context matters. It shows transparency and intent to return, which has always been a key factor in evaluating permanent residence. If this explanation is helping you understand how to protect yourself rather than feel overwhelmed, this is a good moment to make sure you don't miss future updates. Immigration policy doesn't change once and stop. It evolves. Staying informed is one of the most effective forms of protection you have. Now, before we finish, there's one more critical piece we need to address because misinformation is spreading fast, and believing the wrong thing right now could be just as dangerous as ignoring the system altogether. A lot of fear online comes from misunderstandings. Some people are claiming this system exists to quietly strip green cards from millions of people through mass enforcement. That's not accurate. The stated purpose is accountability, not punishment. Law-abiding permanent residents who follow the rules and keep their information current are not the target. Others worry that registering means the government will monitor their every move. That's also an exaggeration. The system doesn't track your location or read your messages. It collects specific information at specific times to verify compliance. Understanding that difference matters because unnecessary fear causes people to avoid registering, which is exactly what creates real risk. One of the most dangerous myths is the belief that people who are close to applying for citizenship don't need to worry about this. Until the moment you take the oath and receive your naturalization certificate, you are still a green card holder. All obligations still apply. Failing to comply now can delay or even derail a citizenship application that was otherwise on track. There is no shortcut around compliance. Knowledge is power in immigration matters, but only if it's paired with action. In the final part, I'm going to walk you through exactly what you should do right now, step by step, to protect yourself, avoid mistakes, and stay ahead of deadlines, without panic and without guesswork. Here's what I want you to do right now, not later, not someday, but deliberately and calmly. First, locate your green card and confirm that you know your alien registration number. If your card is lost, damaged, or expired, don't ignore that problem. Start the replacement or renewal process immediately, because without a valid card and number, you cannot complete registration when the system opens. Second, gather the documents you'll need before you sit down at a computer. That includes proof of your current physical address, accurate employment information, and a recent passport-style photo that meets official requirements. Preparing these things ahead of time turns registration into a simple task instead of a stressful scramble. Third, make sure you have a reliable email address that you check regularly. Under the new system, official notices, reminders, and confirmations are delivered electronically. Missing an email because you rarely check your inbox is not considered a valid excuse. Fourth, set a calendar reminder for the portal launch date and plan to register early. Early registration isn't about being anxious. It's about being smart. It gives you time to fix mistakes, resolve mismatches, and get help if something doesn't work as expected. Fifth, take a moment to review your recent history honestly. Think about address changes, job changes, travel, and anything else that may need to be reported. Knowing what needs updating before you start will prevent accidental omissions. And finally, share this information. Millions of green card holders are completely unaware that these changes are happening. Many of them will find out the hard way, through a notice, an interview, or a problem at the border. You could be the reason someone avoids years of stress simply by helping them understand what's coming. Immigration law doesn't reward ignorance, it rewards preparation. If this video helped you see the situation clearly, support it by hitting the like button so more people can find it. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates, because this system is not the last change permanent residents will face. And if you have questions or concerns, leave a comment. Your questions help shape future videos and ensure the information shared here stays relevant and they lose them because they didn't realize the rules had shifted until the consequences arrived. You've already done the hardest part, which is paying attention. The difference between those who protect their future and those who struggle often comes down to timing and action. You now have both the knowledge and the opportunity to stay ahead of this change. Stay informed, stay organized, stay compliant, and don't let silence or delay decide your future for you. I'll see you in the next update.
Okay, people, this is it. This is it regarding green card holders. Yeah, so thank you for watching. Bye, honey. And at Waterboy, thank you. Bye.